of these players have been duking it out against top-notch players. I know Dark had his road to this stage, defeating Trigger, defeating Cure, defeating Beyond, but this is going to be his toughest opponent yet, and I would actually say similar vibe for Maru as well, despite defeating Hero, defeating some of the other players that he faced off in the winner's stage, such as a Hero Marine or a Shin.
Yeah, Dark over the course of the last couple seasons of GSL and in online tournaments and also here at DreamHack, it feels like his weakness overall has been his ZVP, and he's made a lot of strides in that regard. He's been able to adapt to the new strategies we're seeing emerge across the Korean scene of this slow defensive Protoss play, but in ZVT, he is still one of the best in the world. There is no question about that at all. He might not seem to be in the strongest form, but it's not because of his ZVT. He is still clever. He's got these insane tactics. He's already mining out the gold minerals here to expand towards that 9 o'clock position, and this guy has so many tricks up his sleeves. You think about Dark and you think about a player who, mechanically, to be completely honest with you, he doesn't seem that gifted. He will get supply blocked. He will need macro hatcheries at times.
Yeah.
His build orders, they're not the best in the world, but he has such a unique perspective on the game. He is so clever, he is so brainy, he is so strategic, especially in these best of 5 series, these best of 7 series, these series against opponents that he knows so well and who know him so well. Dark always seems to be able to find some angle of attack, some unexpected strategy that he can use to leverage into a win.
Well, Dark has had a lot of time to prepare for Maru over the course of the last 12 or so hours, so he's going to have some idea of what he wants to bring to the table, because this, again, is going to be one of the most important matches for this tournament for him. 2 Reapers going to be coming out of that 2 Rex opening that Maru went for. Already finding little bits of chip damage on those drones, but not finding too much so far.
Yeah, control very good on both sides. Maru just barely keeping this front Reaper alive, and Dark with that drone I thought almost certainly was going to go down, but just barely able to escape. And of course, this 2 Rex Reaper opening, we see it quite often in the Korean scene, and lately 3CZ has been the trending follow-up. Dark is getting the scout on this instantly, and look at the Lynx already prepared with the Queen. They got that Reaper down to basically 1 HP, so a very nice attempted catch there by Dark, and Maru only going for the 3 Reapers, playing this very safe, even getting the Creep Tumor. That is a big win right now, because these early tumors are the ones that pay dividends over the course of the game as you try to spread your creep across a map that can be as hard for Zerg as basically any of the maps in the map pool here on Crimson Court.
Absolutely. I mean, even just 2 Reapers also whittling down that hatchery's hit points to 66%. That will regenerate over time, but as later on you start to see some of those Terran pushes coming on forward, it's going to be annoying. Another Creep Tumor snipe off by Maru. Wow. This man is absolutely killing it with these Reapers.
Yeah, and this early in the game, I mean, that Queen energy is so important. You, of course, need it for injects, but the fact that we have no active Creep Tumors expanding from the natural expansion, the fact that it's so slow at the 3rd base here for Dark means that for Maru, coming down the road, if he decides that he wants to sit on this 3CC and not take a rapid 4th, if he wants to go into potentially 2 factory siege tank with Widow Mines and go for a push, it could be devastating. And by the way, talking about mechanics, Dark right there, building 7 Overlords at a time.
Yeah,
you love to see it. I mean, it's such a trademark move from Dark, and it's a little bit scary with these Marines moving out, but this is a guy that, again, his skill, it isn't in his mechanical play, it is in how brainy he is. As Maru now trading out these Reapers, actually able to get a couple of drones, more drones getting pulled, go for the surround. Will Maru be able to find that 30? He's trying to click it as they stack up, finally does get that kill. And look at this move out from Maru. So smart, just 4 Marines and a Reaper able to get an Overlord kill. How often do we see this in TVZ?
Maru is finding so much unprecedented damage that you don't normally find with these early game units. The 2 Reapers able to find so much damage within form of those Creep Tumors, in form of those extra drone kills. Those were drone kills a little bit later into the stage of the game. So, I mean, killing off 3 drones when your opponent's at 50 workers versus when they're at 25 workers, there's a big difference in terms of how much damage that is. But Maru just is finding these little edges in the early stages.
And the really incredible part of this for Maru is that he's finding this damage in terms of killing Creep Tumors, in terms of trading out a couple of Reapers for 3+ drones, moving out with Marines, getting an Overlord, and behind it, he's basically doing the greediest build possible. So the fact that he's getting this damage done, he's about to start 2-2 on his engineering base At nearly the same time, Dark is starting 1-1. Oftentimes in ZVT, when we look at the upgrade differential, that kind of tells the tale of when Terran is going to be aggressive on the map. And usually it's only a 20, maybe 30-second window where Terran will have that advantage over Zerg. For Maru, it's almost an entire upgrade advantage, a full upgrade in 1-1. Dark's still so far away from matching him. And oh my goodness, Robert, we got a Spire coming down.
Wow, Spire going to be coming down here for Dark. And this is going to be a tricky situation because he's going to have to deal with the medevac drops. He wants to make sure that Spire doesn't get scouted immediately or anything. So cancel on this hatchery is already a nice pickoff there for Maru. He's going to spend a lot of time killing off these creep tumors. And no baneling speed or anything available just yet. So Dark is relying purely on the queens and a lot of lings and slow banelings.
Yeah, and without 1-1 and with just slow banelings, Maru, if he's able to find the right angle of attack, even getting another tumor as Dark tries to spread it from the main into the third base there. He has a lot of potential to get damage done. These are 1-1 Marines against unupgraded Zerg. If he sprints in right now, he might be able to get another cancel on this hatchery. He's going to go for it. Might even get the kill. He does.
Wow.
And a queen is going to fall as well. More queens getting chased down. The banelings are trying to come in, but Maru with his micro, if he wanted to, could focus them down. That's why Dark is pulling back. Still a couple seconds away from baneling speed.
This is going to be so frustrating for Dark not being able to get up that fourth base for such a long time now. Finally, 1-1 is about to finish up. We are going to have a short little pause here, but you can see in that production tab, 1-1 centrifugal hooks for those banelings to get their speed upgrade. The Spire, all of the things are about to get in position there for Dark, moving into the next couple of seconds, but he needs to be able to deal with this.
Yeah, and this is a very critical moment because Dark, although it looks like he's quite on the back foot, and frankly he is in terms of defending this, in terms of getting his hatchery canceled over and over and over again there at the triangle third. Look at the bank, 1,300 minerals, almost 1,200 gas. As soon as that Spire is done, we're going to see a lot of mutas pop out. In this situation here for Dark, I wouldn't even mind him delaying 2-2 by just a tad, maybe delay it 30 seconds or so. You already know Maru has this huge upgrade advantage. Spend that resources instead on getting the banelings, getting the mutas you need to stop Maru from building this kind of momentum, because a lot of players, a lot of fans, we think of Maru as this player who is incredible in the late game, almost unbeatable in the late game in TVZ, except for unless you're maybe Serral, right? Yeah. But he's also strong in the mid game. If he gets an opportunity to kill you in the mid game, he will take it. He is not shy in that regard whatsoever. So for Dark right now, once we come back from this pause, these next couple of minutes are so critical in terms of defense, and it feels like he's almost teetering on an edge. The creep control has been spectacular for Maru. The catch cancels, spectacular. The damage already done by the Marines, spectacular. Everything is going his way. Dark needs to get this under control.
Yeah, nothing has been cemented in stone just yet. Dark is still absolutely in an okay position for the moment, but you're absolutely right. Maru is gaining a little bit of that momentum throughout all of these little victories he's been able to accumulate for himself throughout the past few minutes of the game. And it's going to be so important, so critical to see how can Dark micromanage his units to deal with this continued aggression from Maru, as all of his things are getting set up. Dealing with that upgrade deficit as well is going to be so important, because it's not just the 1-1 upgrade as you were talking about, it's just how fast 2-2 and everything else can start up as well.
Yeah, that 2-2 is such an important point, Fear Dragon, because all the damage coming in is just with 1-1. 2-2, I believe, is already more than halfway done, and that is when the real aggression starts. Right now, this is just Maru basically going in with these pokes that Terrans do, where there is very limited risk. You're just trying to find free damage because you've got 20 supply of 2 medevacs full of Marines. If the situation calls for it, if it's too dangerous, you pick up, you get away. You just try to get the damage done that you can. You try to keep the Zerg under control while you can, and then once 2-2 is done, with this greedy build that Maru is going for, then suddenly you have this opportunity to move out with siege tanks, with a full bio ball, with an army that is too large to lift up into medevacs, but has the potential to kill Zerg.
That really is going to be the key time, and the Terran players absolutely love to see. But we'll see how things are going to be able to pan out there, because Dark definitely has to deal with a short period of time of aggression before that as well. Seems like the pause is going on a little bit longer as Dark gets all of the things resolved. But really, I mean, I feel like it's kind of crazy seeing both of these players here, because I feel like a victory in this tournament will actually mean a lot for both of them. For Maru, I know that he recently won that Star Wars event, but being able to win a DreamHack, one of these international tournaments, I feel like in that ESL circuit is going to mean a lot for him, because that's been one of the big missing key components people have about, you know, where he is as a player in terms of all of his achievements. It's just the fact that Maru is one of those players where he's won so many GSLs, but he wants to win one of those ESLs. Wow, that is...
His dinosaurs battling it out here on the stage.
That's incredible,
I love to see it. Oh my goodness. When is this race getting added to StarCraft II, I wonder, Fear Dragon?
I mean, those are some incredible dinosaurs, I'm not gonna lie. Love to see the crowd. By the way, I've been loving all these cheerfuls out there. We've had some incredible ones.
Yeah.
Oh, we found Max
here
Pax
at Dallas.
on the left-hand side. We found Max Pax.
Is that him?
Yeah.
It's like finding Where's Waldo, man. It's like, where's Max Pax?
I like also the gentleman who has the upside-down side.
Oh, there you go, normal man.
Too late, we're gone.
He's just a normal guy, Fear Dragon. You can't expect him to get the sign, right?
Yeah, you know.
Limit your expectations. But really coming into this, going back to what you were saying, Fear Dragon, for Maru, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, the ESL StarCraft II Masters circuit is so prestigious. GSL, of course, the longest running esports tournament in StarCraft II history, in esports history in its own right, a continuous star league. It has its prestige, but over the past decade or so, of course, it's mostly Koreans. Occasionally would have players like Huck come out, like Jinro come out. I think even in the early days, Artosis tried his hand at competing in the GSL. We had Rainer come, Sasha come, we had Estrella come. All these foreigners have competed, but it does still feel a lot like just the Korean scene. And so whenever we get into these arguments about who is the greatest player of all time, Cyril, with his success on the international stage, of course, has that advantage, but for Maru to ride this momentum to a victory here against Dark and potentially go to the grand finals and win here at DreamHack Dallas would be such a feather in his cap in his StarCraft II career. As guys, we are back at the game. Dark parrying the drop going into the main base, and Maru trying to leverage some more aggression here on the front lines as the Mutalisks are getting ready to pop.
They are indeed 7 on the way there. And remember that 1-1 just finished up for Dark. So right now it is even upgrades for a very short period of time. This is the time where Dark should feel a little bit more comfortable trying to push back a lot of these Marines. Mutas going straight after the medevacs. Wow, finds one of them, but that is the empty medevac. Marines trying to unload, trying to target fire down whenever they can, but a beautiful cleanup there from Dark.
And 10 more Mutalisks in production. You see Maru instantly reacting. He is getting Widowmines, he's getting Thors, he's getting Tunneling Claws. He knows that he is going to need to try and pivot from this position because for all the momentum that he was building earlier on the game, now Dark with this almost surprise Muta transition, a style that we don't see too often in ZBT anymore. It's usually much more Ling Bling focused going into Hive. Is about to get a lot of damage done. These Mutas raining hell at the main base of Maru, even getting these add-ons on the brand new barracks coming in will disrupt the Terran production. And Bailings entering the triangle third. Siege Tank luckily there to defend in time. Maru only gonna lose a couple of SCVs. No, it's 13!
Wow, beautiful Bailey connections there. The Siege Tank trying to cover for what it could, but the Mutas even finishing off a few more, going up to 16 workers killed there in an instant. Dark just really turned everything around in this game with the cleanup from the Mutas and the Lings and the Bailings, and then the counterattack with these Mutas continuing to find additional damage.
Yeah, this is the time in the game where these Mutas are going to be getting maximum value, where Maru isn't yet prepared on all these distant expansions in his main base with turrets, and even getting the high yield Vespene Geyser in the stage in the game where Maru, he's trying to get 3-3 online, he's trying to get vehicle plating, he's trying to get Widowmines and Thors, all these units that are very gas intensive. And Dark just stealing the momentum away from him in an instant. And I love that decision from our Korean Zerg player. This is why he is one of the best in the world. He is so smart. He is so clever. Another Zerg maybe trying to go up to 80 drones, 90 drones in a situation like that, going into a Hive. Maybe they feel a lot more pressure from that push coming in as a result. Dark instead was sitting in the 60s, banking for these Mutas, waiting for his time to strike. And he's getting so much done, Fear Dragon.
No, he is absolutely the one that wants to be in the driver's seat where he's able to put on some form of pressure. He's not just going to be droning up blindly. Hive Tech is on the way as well now. Finally, 2-2 is finished up there for Dark. So upgrades once again evened up for a short period of time before 3-3 finishes, and Dark is going to go for it. Lings, Bailings swarming on forward. The Bailings going after the mineral line. Marines doing their best to try and hold the line, but the planetary fortress gets demolished, and Dark has done the damage he was looking for. He retreats back happily.
7 more SCVs go down. The planetary fortress on the high-yield Vespian gas gets taken out, and that's a critical base for Maru. That's the one that you use as Maru as a staging ground to push onto the creep, to anchor your position on the map. And Stark is just playing such an aggressive game. Look at his bank. It's almost non-existent because he's investing everything in taking down the Terran.
Yep, more Lings and Banelings are being pushed on out. Hive Tech is also getting closer to finishing up. That's going to allow him to get adrenal glands, allow him to get a lot of those other Hive Tech units once he finds the resources for it. But Maru is not going to sit idle. He is pushing on to creep. He's killing off some of these creep tumors. He's getting situated to try and do some counter damage of his own. But Dark is going to try charging on forward. Banelings and Lings trying to get the full surround on this army. The Muta's also diving all the way deep in.
Wow.
Going after the Thor and the Medevac, but the Thor Medevac micro is too good.
That Thor Medevac micro was insane. Look at that Thor. It's basically on 1 HP. Maru using that 11 hit points, 17 kills with the splash damage on the Mutalist, getting so much work done. If that Thor went down, maybe that game, maybe that fight looks a little bit different in this game. Instead, it's Maru gaining a little bit more momentum here in the middle of the map. Keep in mind, Dark, he's not playing on a high worker count. It is hard for him to replenish these expensive armies. And once again, another fight coming in.
Yeah, we're going to start to see more of these Banelings swarming on forward, but they're actually going into the Marauders, able to take a lot of that damage. Lings swarming in one by one. The Queen's trying to add in extra DPS. Maru is finally going to retreat on back, but he is going for that stutter step micro. He's picking off Banelings. He turns back around and is going to start finding the Queens.
Yeah, as soon as the splash damage falls here for Dark, that's a lot of DPS lost. Even playing in the overs here, trying to drag a Widowmine shot in, but I think Maru might have just broken Dark. And what a comeback after losing the planetary. Maru does not blink. He says, okay, you took down this expansion. I'm hurting back at home, but that was expensive. You lost Mutas, you lost Banelings, you lost a ton of Lings to the splash damage I was setting up. Now is my time to strike before your economy can kick in, before the pain of losing that 4th base kicks in. And Maru, in just a clutch moment, is able to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. What a game 1 to start this series off here, Dragon.
Truly, I mean, Maru had a great early game where he was planting all little bits and pieces of damage, but after this moment here where Dark was able to swat away the offensive there from Dark, he was able to go on a counter-offensive. It looked like he was getting into such a great spot, finding so many worker kills, the Banelings, finding kills with the Mutas, and even finding that planetary fortress like this. But like you were saying, look at how many Banelings are involved in taking down that planetary fortress, in just trying to push back the Bioforce. Maru was retaining a lot of the army, and this was the critical fight.
Yeah, in this fight, the Banelings and Lings, they just weren't quite able to get the engagement off of creep here. Look at this spread for Maru, and that Thor micro is the stuff of dreams. The Mutas even trying to snipe down the Medevac weren't able to do it, and for Dark, the Muta Ball was really the ace up his sleeve this entire game. And once that finally got taken out in the middle of the map, and there was too bruised to come back in for that final engagement, Maru just riding that momentum to a victory. And we have our Korean Terran player, the greatest Terran player of all time, leading 1-0 in this series.
That he is in this best of 5. Needs 2 more victories to advance on to the grand finals, a place that he is no stranger to, even in these international tournaments. He's going to have to continue this kind of streak of momentum that he's been able to build up in that first game. Dark, I think, had a little bit of a, I won't even say shaky early game. It was just not as good as Maru's, but he still was able to find his stride in the middle of the game. I hope that he can find it again this game.
All right, well, let's see if Dark can fight back as he's going up against the best in the world. Here we have, spawning in the top left, give him your energy for Team Talon. It is Dark.
And down here in the bottom right-hand side of the map, the blue Terran player from Team Vitality. Put your hands together for Maru.
Before we came here to cast, I was meeting a lot of the fans out there in the audience, getting ready for this, and so many fans had picked either Maru or Dark is their favorite to advance from the semifinals into the finals to potentially become a champion, even over Serral, even over Oliveira, who's making this spectacular run, and I think for very good reason. These guys have so much momentum behind them. The Maru that we're seeing here at DreamHack Dallas, it looks like a GSL form Maru. He has been playing out of his mind, as we saw in that last game where Dark was throwing these punches. Maru didn't quite expect. He was able to roll with them. He was able to bounce back, and he was able to seize the moment at times where, you know, sometimes Maru internationally, you see him in those situations, he might stumble a little bit. Here, just not missing a beat.
No, I think you're 100% on the money with that, where it is the thing that we've been missing, the thing that we've been wanting to see peak form kind of Maru, being able to compete here in that international stage. Now, this game, we are going to see yet again another one of these barracks low ground expands, but it's going to be the single barracks, and it's going to be Marines going after that Overlord. It will make its way over to that Peeper Cliff, where it's be able to stay alive for a little bit longer, but not until the barracks lift up and provides that vision.
Yeah, one of the nice bonuses of going for this Beyond-esque opening with a wall and on the low ground expansion is on a map like Golden Ore, where you have that little Peeper Cliff for the Overlord. You're able to snatch it up with the barracks and lose like, what, 15 seconds of production time? It is absolutely worth it there for Maru.
Yeah, I mean, you can even see Dark is still sitting at 28-20 supply. The Overlord's still a few seconds away from coming on up. So it is really annoying, but Dark is going to be saving those minerals for that third hatchery regardless. Going to be firing up drones behind this as well. After that last game state, we did see the big Muta switch that you were talking about is not necessarily as common. Do you want to see something like that again?
Ooh, these 4 links pretty ambitious, man.
Yeah.
I don't know about that here on Golden Ore. Oh my goodness, the link's coming in again. Look at how much idle time he's forcing on the factory and the barracks with those 4 links. Not even trading them out. He's getting the scouting information. He is delaying the build-up for Maru. I mean, look at Maru's money. It's a little bit higher than he would like it for it to be at this stage in the game. So,
yeah,
really clever move there from Daru, or Daru.
Daru.
The fusion of Dark and Maru. No,
that would be
clever move.
Incredible.
Clever move from Dark. But going back to what you were saying here, Dragon, I'm not sure Golden Ore necessarily lends itself to the same kind of Muta play, because although it does seem like a large map with a lot of expansions, the rush distance really not that great from Terran's third to Zerg's third, especially the 4th and the 5th base. They're very hard to defend. Yes, Mutas do have that kind of mobility where they can bounce between these expansions, but I think you need something with a little bit more firepower in your army. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Dark play something more aggressive like Roach Ravager, where the Roach Warren are already going down, or should we go into the mid game, something a little bit more Hydra focused to try and snipe those medevacs and gain control?
No, that absolutely makes a ton of sense heading onto Golden Aura. Now, we do have a couple of these Cyclones making their way across the map, looking to try and see what damage they can get done, most specifically probably versus a couple of these Queens. Hellion's also going to be joining the fray as well, and a few Roaches are getting fired on up. Overlord number 2 is going to get picked off. His first Overlord was that Marine pickoff from earlier. It's going to be very annoying. Maru is already also getting a Liberator set up, so he's really finding ways to find so much extra damage in the early game.
Another Overlord comes in, and Dark is making 5 Overlords right now, and I can't even make fun of him for it this time because it's just a good move. These Cyclones and Hellions causing a lot of trouble on the front line, and once they get paired up with that Liberator at the main base, Dark might sustain some damage here, Fear Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, you have to think about the fact that so many Queens have to be at the front line to deal with the...
There's no Spore.
No Spore Caller, no Queens over here, and a very late reaction from Dark is going to end up losing at least 3 drones. Going to lose a lot of the larvae potentially as well, but it looks like Liberator re-sieges is going to try and deny additional mining time. This is actually such a big delay to the economy.
Yeah, 4 drones going down, all this mining time lost. The Liberator even going to survive up here in the top left corner. Maru just keeps finding the chip damage wherever he needs it, both in game 1 with those small groups of Lings, the small groups of Reapers, and now here in game number 2 with this Liberator, which will get cleaned up in the natural expansion, but not before it gets a 5th drone.
Yeah, that was a focus fire, by the way, on the drones there. We have a lot of Lings and Roaches making their way forward, though. Dark did not decide to drone up heavily. He's sitting on 35 workers, and this Roach Ravager attack is very committed for Dark. He needs to get big damage done here.
Yeah, he is basically all in, especially after losing those 5 drones, but look at how well prepared Maru is on the defense. I mean, he's even moving out with the Stim Marines. I don't know if Dark has enough. The Link's now flooding forward, but look at the wall here for Maru with double bunker, with this siege tank. It's going to try to escape. It's going to try and retreat to the safety of the ramp. Repair coming in. Biles raining down on the bunker. Cannot take it out until the last possible second. I think Maru might have been able to hold this just by the skin of his teeth. He was so well prepared, Robbie.
He really was. I mean, you look at things, he only lost 5 workers throughout the entirety of that fight, even with the supply depot being down, the Lings being let in because Maru tried to do that move out right as the Lings are coming swarming on forward. Maru being able to hold there is absolutely massive. He has a 3rd command center finished up, turning into an orbital command. In the meanwhile, you look at Dark's situation, he doesn't have a lair yet, State. He's still just making roaches. He's still barely sitting on 56 workers. This is not where Zerg wants to be 7 minutes into the game.
Well, 56 workers is a lot better than where he was at 1 minute ago.
That's true.
But you're absolutely right. He is stuck on roach tech, stuck on hatch tech because he was so committed to that attack. And so for Dark now coming in, I don't know exactly how he is going to be able to withstand the force of Maru because the mobility isn't there. He doesn't have roach speed. The link count has dissipated over the course of these attacks. It's probably a very low amount right now as Dark has been spending most of his larva on drones and on roaches because that's the most efficient usage of larva on the 3 attributes he's got. And Maru now coming in, might be able to get 1 or 2 Ravagers before he lifts back up, but nice micro there from Dark, is able to save the low HP Ravager.
Queen's able to push back this medevac drop from the front lines. I want to also mention, you take a look at the creep spread on this map, it's not that good because remember, there was the early Cyclone Hellion pressure, but also just when Dark is committing that heavily to the early aggression, you simply don't have a super large Queen count constantly spraying that creep at the front lines. There are a lot of trade-offs that Dark made for that aggression. The Marines are going for a focus fire on a couple of these units, do manage to find a Ravager there.
Yeah, but not a bad trade there for Dark. Just 1 Ravager, again, microing back the low HP one, and he's able to whittle down the Marine ball quite well, which is good for him because at this stage in the game where Maru has these medevacs out, he has his 1-1 upgrades about to finish in. If you can dampen the harassment potential of Terran with these medevacs, it's going to help you so much more at surviving the mid game. Cancel coming in on this 4th hatchery. Maru is going to lift up with just a small number of Marines, but here for Dark, he's stabilizing. This is not as bad as it potentially should have been after that failed aggression.
And Dark's answer to where he's in this game is that he's just going to go straight up to a Hive. A Hive is already on the way, an extremely fast, pretty greedy Hive. Will he be able to get away with it? This is going to be that kind of timing where Maru's going to start getting more and more aggressive out on the map, and there's not a lot of creep spread to work with again.
And Marines and Marauders coming in right now. It's a lot of firepower here with 1-1, but he will retreat because the Roach Ravager count is so high. But again, just going back to what you said, Fear Dragon, the fact that the Hive is coming in, it does get scanned. We're about to have a Hive finish at essentially the same time as Roach speed. I don't know if I've ever seen this in a StarCraft II game. And these are the kind of insane tactics that I love from Dark. It's almost like you're watching somebody playing a 4th race, the way that he approaches Zerg. Infestor's now getting added into the mix. He is one of the best players in the world at also pairing fungals with Ravager Biles, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to hold off against this army, Robbie. It is huge and a lot of upgrades for Terran about to finish up. Combat shields to start.
The Lings are going to come swarming on for the Roaches, and Ravagers aren't able to pick off one of the Siege X from the bottom side. Slow Banelings making their way forward. Baneling speed not finished up for another couple of seconds. Isn't going to be enough. The Roach Ravager count is pretty high. Another set of Crucible Biles takes out one of the Siege X. The fungal growth on top of a lot of the Bioforce, and it seems like Maru is so close to getting pushed back, but he managed to hold on and push on through.
Man, Dark was so close to holding that one. If he had just a couple more seconds, I think there is a potential hold there at the 3rd, but the fact that Maru hit just before Baneling speed was done, just before the Infestors were able to get there to pair the fungal with the Biles, that was like a 5 to 10 second window where if Maru doesn't strike at that moment, Dark potentially holds on and survives to live another day, but instead, Fear Dragon, Maru with a crisp timing after defending that early aggression is now only 1 map win away.
I mean, you talk about how StarCraft is a game of seconds. It's all the little bits of damage that we saw from Maru, the Liberator harassment slowing down some of the economy, the Overlord sets, all those little things do slow down a Zerg player. And you think if he had just a little bit faster of a Baneling speed, if some of those upgrades have been able to come out a little bit faster because his overall build was just a little bit further along, not having taken that damage, he may have actually been able to hold on there. You can see the impact of all of those seconds adding up, all those little advantages Maru garners for himself, and the crisp timing you were talking about here. Look at how close all these upgrades were to finishing as Dark is forced to engage.
Yeah, 10 seconds on Roach speed, about 12 seconds on Baneling speed, and the Infestors literally just popped out. 15 seconds potentially spells the difference between Dark surviving this push and being able to execute his plans in Hive Tech, or Maru steamrolling him into a 2-0 lead.
Absolutely phenomenal play there from our Terran player, Maru. 2-0 lead. Absolutely love to see it. And Maru now sitting 1 game away from moving on to the grand final state.
He is looking so strong right now, and that fan in the crowd is going to be really happy because Maru might be saving us from a potential ZVZ. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It looks like he is on his way to the grand final unless this guy on screen right now is able to pull off the reverse sweep. And man, does he have his work cut out for him. Guys, give him your energy. It is Dark.
And down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, the blue Terran player 1 game away from moving on to the grand finals. Put your hands together for Team Vitality's Maru!
He very well might.
He could very well kill 100 drones of Dark, but Dark is going to open up things a little differently this game.
Yeah, it's a pool first opening here for Dark, and even Maru with his building placement's a little bit funky. Look at this barracks. It's almost a Makarax outside of the main base.
That's a throwback game.
It doesn't feel like a throwback to me. That's just how old I am.
You're so old at this point.
Yeah,
but yeah, that kind of like semi-proxied forward barracks, but it's not even necessarily as a part of the wall or anything, as you oftentimes see with those kind of one-racks expansions these days.
Yeah, just try to get that Reaper across the map as quickly as possible. And if Maru goes for a low ground command center, I'm wondering if he's going to be able to hold. So Dark now coming in with this Overlord is going to see this barracks. And this isn't the kind of barracks that you spot here as Dark and you're like, oh, you might potentially be hiding this as a third rack. So you probably have 2 other racks in the main or on the natural that are going to be coming up here in just a second. You see this, and I think for Dark, especially as you see in the first person view, he's scouting the command center, and as soon as he sees that CC there on the low ground, I believe he's going to be feeling pretty happy because there is a chance, but wait, did he scout it? Yeah, he did scout it.
Yeah.
Sometimes hard to see in these FPVs, but yeah. This is going to be a very important early game in this match.
It most certainly is. We also see in that picture or first person point of view that there is gas being mined there for Dark as well. He's getting up to about 80 right now. First Reaper making his way across the map, but so are these Lings. And is Maru going to be ready to defend that SCV, building the command center?
Maru's cutting units after the first Reaper. It's only the first Reaper, and he sees this. No cancel just said. There isn't even a wall in here in the main base, so the barracks is going to land. SCV's now getting pulled. That Reaper is already halfway back to the main base. SCV's with some really nice micro. Mineral walking into the Lings. Only 1 or 2 of them going down. The Lings low on HP. And the command center, it will survive, but it's been delayed. And I think for Maru, all things considered, this is a really nice hold. It did slow him down a little bit, but this could have been so much worse.
And you have to remember that going for the pool first means that you are also investing into a lot of things. So yes, there's lost mining time there, but going for the pool first means that your hatchery isn't coming up as fast. You're investing in all those Lings that aren't going to be drones as opposed to just 2 or 4 Lings or something to deal with the early Reaper. So at the end of the day, Maru, yeah, you shouldn't feel too bad about that.
6 more Lings in production will be syncing up with speed, and I'm curious how many more Dark is going to make, because I feel like in this position here as Dark, you probably should just go back into droning, but there we go.
10 or Lings.
Yeah, 4 more in queue.
I mean, this is also a very Dark thing to do, I feel like, to just say, you know what, I'm down 0-2. Everything is on the line. Let's go for it anyways. And a Reaper makes us all the way back into the behind the mineral line of the main base.
Yeah, it does get cleaned up though. He did see a full mineral line and only the 1 gas in the main base, so no alarm bell is going to be ringing.
Yeah.
And here comes Dark with not that many Lings, but enough to potentially cause trouble and try and get us around here on these Hellions.
Yeah, is that going to be the main objective with these Lings? Because he did go back into droning after this.
Yeah.
Basically 13 supply of Lings with, I think, a queen or 2 out.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an odd number, right? I wonder if maybe Dark was expecting Maru to lean a little bit more heavily into the Reapers and into the Hellions, and Dark was thinking, well, maybe I make a couple more Lings than usual. Maybe I'm able to catch a moment where Maru isn't watching the Hellions and I can pick 1 or 2 off, because that can be the kind of play that kills some of Terran's momentum and allows Zerg to spread their creep much more fruitfully across the map. But instead, just a small decision there by Dark that didn't quite pay off, but these kind of things add up, just like the pool first, not getting quite as much damage as it potentially could have.
No, absolutely. I mean, we saw how those things can add up in the last game as well. Creep Tumor also gets sniped off there by those Hellions. Lings just kind of hanging out in the main base. Kind of strange place for them to be hanging out right now.
Yeah, it is a little bit peculiar because this is kind of early for the first medevac to be coming in, but you know, Dark is something of a mystery in terms of his decision-making. His brain is a little too wrinkly for smooth brains like us to understand, to be honest with you.
I wonder if it's because it was like a gamble that he was going to go for, it didn't pay off, and now he doesn't want to show Maru that he's like already made a bunch of lings and making Maru think that like, no, I still have all that economy and everything, just making him misread the game a little bit more. Because in theory, this shouldn't really be a whole lot he's worried about in the main base.
And also, really, it doesn't change the game too much.
Yeah,
it's just a couple more lings than you would otherwise make. You can still see Dark right now sitting on a very healthy drone count. 52 workers to the 42 of Maru, who is now adding in additional barracks, floating that command center over to the bottom left side, and +1 infantry weapons only just now starting. This game, not much of an upgrade advantage here for Maru. In fact, it's going to be Dark starting, +1 carapace pretty much right on time.
Yeah,
with the Terran, and look at this, double queen with a spore, defense much more on point here. That Liberator is going to go down.
Yeah, that is a big pickoff. A much better defense against the early game harassment there for Dark. And now these Hellions also not able to clean up quite as many creep tumors, or I would say just overall the creep spread has gotten a lot further out than it has, and I would say the previous 2 games.
Yeah, but 4 more barracks in production for Maru. 2 of them just finished up, and no 4th command center yet to speak of. So we might be leaning a little bit more heavily into aggression here on the Terran side of things. It's gonna be 7 racks in 7 racks in total, I think, or no, potentially just the 5.
I think 5 for the moment. Yeah,
I got a little bit tripped up there. We'll have to see if that 4th command center actually does come down, or if it will be something like an 8 racks, because there is potential to make some crazy push happens here on Amphion.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a beautiful map to have that kind of one direct line toward your opponent and try to go for a nice push out. But we do have Lair finally getting started, almost 7 minutes into the game, as 1-1 is going to be finishing up soon as well for both of these players. And with the Baleen Nestles coming on up, Maru getting his medevacs out, this is kind of where the game's real aggression should begin.
Look at this. The Viking that cleaned up the Overlord earlier is just, his job is to prevent the creeps from going over those minerals. That is so funny.
I have one job and I do it well.
I love that move so much.
Yeah, it's a really cute maneuver, but it's very annoying to deal with for Maru.
Yeah, what do you do to stop that one Viking? It's a Viking. It's not going to do anything else. All right, drop coming down here in the top right. We'll be able to cancel this hatchery coming in from Dark, as he has been expanding quite rapidly across the top side of the map. And already, as soon as that layer is done, Infestation Pit going down, Hydralisk Den going down. I think we are going to be seeing some Ling Baneling Hydra and a relatively fast hive here from the Zerg.
Yeah, Dark loves that fast hive tech, it feels like a lot of the time. So not too surprised. A lot of Lings going to be making their way across the map.
He's going to get the Hellions. Lings coming in for the surround. Maru was not quite expecting this move, but them transforming into Hellbats right on the mineral line is going to make this at least not that bad a trade here for Maru. And even Baneling's morphing, while Dark getting a little bit ambitious. Yeah, I'm not going to bite off more than I can chew.
It was a very ambitious kind of Baneling morph. It almost looked like he was gearing up for this big flood into the natural. He's like, maybe I don't do that right now. I have my Hive Tech coming up ready. I have my Hydra Den and everything finished up. I really can just back off for the moment. Be happy with the Hellion pickoffs.
Yeah, Maru back at home, adding in that additional command center now, going for a second factory while applying pressure here in the center of the map. And the creep set for Dark, it really hasn't been that great. And even these pushes with just one Hellbat and all these Marines, Maru is getting so much done. I love the way that he is playing this game right now. It seems slow, it seems passive, but what he's doing is he's denying creep spread. He is denying these hatches from getting off in the corners, in the middle of the base, or in the middle of the map. And as a result, Dark, he's having a little bit of trouble dealing with this. And that Hive Tech, it is coming in. We haven't seen any Hydras in production just yet to try and deal with the medevac, so it's just purely Ling Baneling on the ground trying to clean this up. But Maru just is continuously causing problems for the Zerg. And this is the kind of playstyle coming in from Maru that could eventually come to a head once 2-2 is done, once he's able to assemble an army that is really scary to deal with, in a similar way to game number 1, where he just went for that one killing punch.
Yeah, everything that Maru is doing is setting up for the future. He is setting himself up to be in a better economic spot by denying all these hatcheries from Dark. He's finding the creep spread and really keeping it heavily contained for the eventual push out that's going to be coming forward. Maru's doing a great job. This is going to find even more of these active creep tumors. There's barely any space in front of these hatcheries now that actually is covered by the creep. Baneling's find 1 or 2 connections over there. That's pretty good. But in the picture-in-picture, we do see Maru also finding some drone damage there. 11 drones going down.
Yeah, Maru is just everywhere right now. Even with these low HP medevacs, he is denying bases. He is moving forward and getting creep tumors he honestly has no right of killing, because his harassment over every corner of this map has just been so effective. And even the Viking getting some assistance here with these drop coming in to pick off more creep tumors. Finally, that medevac is going to go down in the top right, but look at the creep spread. This is like a Wings of Liberty or Heart of the Swarm creep spread from a Zerg player, where it's like you don't actually know how good it is. Dark obviously knows how good it is. It's just that Maru has done an unfathomably good job of keeping it in check. And once he reaches max supply, the push potential is so strong here. I don't even know if Dark can take another expansion.
No, usually you want to have those hatcheries that you're trying to take cover by some of the creeps so you can get your units there in time to help defend it. A big swarm of Lings and Banelings are finally going to be able to come forward and actually protect that hatchery, which is now sitting at a very low hit points. But Maru is still going to be fine with these trades, because on the left-hand side, he found another one of the hatchery kills or cancels. He manages to push back a lot more of these units and take effective trades. Maru is continuing to just find effective trade after effective trade.
That hatch is 13 HP. This medevac is surely going to be able to kill it with these Marines, as siege tanks double in production. Vehicle weapons +2 coming in here for Maru. And notably, no 3-3 started just yet. He is instead investing resources on absorbing the impact of Dark, who has taken too much fight on his side of the map, and now is going for this Viper timing. Maru, did he spread himself too thin?
Maru definitely has a lot of units that are not here right now. Blinding Cloud's completely disabling those siege tanks for a lot of this fight. It's not even so much of a fight as much as it is a massacre of the units rallying on forward. Maru finally coming back with some of the medevacs. These Marines and Marauders trying to help defend, and it looks like the play here for Dark is just to spread out units across every one of these bases, finding 38 workers, 39, continuing to climb with a worker kill count.
And Maru was maybe a little bit too ambitious with all these drops all over the map. Infantry, armor, and weapons level 3 get started, but then immediately denied. Dark is soon going to have a 3-3 to 2-2 upgrade advantage. And for a game that for so long was going in Maru's favor, he kept the expansions in check. He kept the creep in check. Dark is like, you know what? You can't be everywhere at once and still defend my full army on your front door. And coming in with a Viper timing like that one to defuse the siege tanks was so good. But now, Fear Dragon, he needs to defend the follow-up push, because Maru, he's licking his wounds. He's revitalizing his economy back at home, but his army is still massive.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, Maru still has equal army supply to Dark. The upgrade advantage is about to kick in for Dark. It's so close to finishing up 3-3, but Maru still has a window of opportunity to continue to find additional damage, to go for a big push out. He's doing some harassment on the right-hand side, denying one of these bases, but is he actually going for a big push? I see some dots on the left, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, I was thinking he might actually go for it, but instead it seems Maru has decided he is going to be focusing his energy on splitting off groups of medevacs in 4s and 3s on the left side and on the right side to try and keep Dark economically under control. And as it is right now, Dark, he's only sitting at 75 workers, so he doesn't need all of these expansions.
This is a
really
bold
funny, by the
base
way.
for Maru. It's like, I'm going to take the low ground of your main base.
Yeah, but for Maru, I mean, he is able to stop these expansions except for on the top side. But the fact that Dark was able to get so much economic damage done with that last push, and he's recharging again, it's a little bit scary for the Terran player. I think Maru might just instead try to focus on the late game. Is he going to be able to survive to get to that late game, though, Fear Dragon?
Blinding Clouds will once again be thrown down on top of all of these siege tanks that the Lings and Banelings come swarming on in. But there's a lot more here for Maru than last time.
Yep.
Maru is prepared, and he swats back Dark's army.
And now looking at this game, I feel like the window where Maru really has a opportunity to kill Dark at a straight up push, it might be closing, partly because of the upgrade differential, but also because of how much of a beating he's taken back at home. So now for Maru, he might do what he does best. He might try and play the cost efficiency game, but with these Banelings and Lings running in with 3-3 upgrades, this planetary expansion is going to get taken out, and potentially this expansion over here at the third might also take a lot of damage.
Yeah, the worker count's gonna absolutely be stinking and hurting over here for Maru. This is down to just 40 workers, potentially gonna be falling a little bit further if any more of these SCVs get picked off. But love the little burrow placement here as well, because you remember that it's the economy that's hurting for Maru. Continuing to force out all these scans is gonna be so annoying.
I mean, Maru's trying his best to fight back into this one after taking a a blow that severed his limbs. It's like Maru is trying to limp his way into the late game to a stage in TVZ that he can play better than absolutely anyone in the world. But I don't know if you can do it with the advantage Dark has right now. Some nice abducts coming in, getting both of those medevacs. And Dark, I think he's recharging for another fight soon.
He absolutely is. And remember that Maru really wants to be able to keep one of these more established bases alive. He replaced that planetary fortress with an orbital command on that left-hand side location. He's going to try and go for a push out on that left-hand side as well. Ghost coming in with the snipes on top of those queens. The Lings come swarming on forward. But just Lings without the Baneling support is going to be a tough fight. Now the Banelings come on in. The Hydralisks, the Vipers. This might be a little bit too much for Maru to deal with.
Yeah, but the fact that our Dark's army was so staggered coming in, first the Lings, then the Banelings and Hydra, means that he wasn't really able, Dark wasn't, I should say, to utilize the full DPS, the full attack power of his army. And as a result, Maru with a very cost-efficient trade over there on the left side. So Dark now, he's going to have to change his game plan a little bit. I love the burrow units coming in once again, just getting 2 more SCVs, forcing out a scan, causing more problems for Maru. But for Dark, I feel like even though you're in this incredibly advantageous position, you almost are on a timer against a player like Maru. You want to try and win these fights now while you can. You don't want Maru to kill this hatchery. You don't want him to entrench himself in the bottom left corner of the map because he is better than anyone in the world at playing the late game efficiency.
The Link support just isn't there. There's a lot of Banelings, there's a lot of Hydras, but not a whole lot to actually help them out. All these Lings are actually on the south side of the map, going for another one of these run-bys to one of the few remaining bases with a lot of these SCVs left over, as Maru has been able to replenish that work count quite a bit, making 4 workers at a time, but just losing a handful more is going to be so annoying. And this also allows Dark the window of opportunity to try and go for a push forward. Finds not a whole lot, doesn't actually even kill off many workers in the mineral line, so not the best trade there for Dark.
I mean, it's such a difficult angle to attack into, and it's why Maru is just focused so much on controlling the left side of the map, because these ramps play so well into Terran's favor with the planetary fortress, with the arc of range units you can set up surrounding it. Dark really doesn't have many attack angles except for the bases in the middle of the map, but you have to walk across so much terrain with the main army to actually get there.
It is so annoying and so difficult, but Maru's finally moving his army mostly along the right-hand side. This is going to be Dark's window to shine as he is able to find this opportunity where Maru is nowhere to be seen. Ling's also swarming inside the natural expansion as the left-hand side base is taken out, but Maru is also going to strike back. Who is going to be able to hit the other one harder?
Yeah, we are basically in base trade territory right now with another expansion coming down here for Maru, but I don't feel like Maru is going to be able to scale with the damage that Dark is dishing out. The natural expansion for Maru is falling. The Cracklings are going to take down the orbital. All these expansions on the left side are also going down. And yes, these hatcheries, they might fall, but look at Dark. He's getting Lurker Tech out. He's going to try and play the defensive game with his key tech structures in the main base. Maru, can he hold on to the main? If he can stop this push from breaching the main base, he might have a chance.
Yeah, Vipers are getting focus fire down. All of the Vipers end up falling there. Beautiful play there from Maru. While his supply is heavily down, remember that army supply for Maru is still very scary. A lot of Lings, a lot of Banelings going down in these trades. Does Dark actually have enough? 11 Lurkers morphing in right now state.
11 Lurkers in production, and let's not forget, there's very little detection on the map right now for Maru because he's lost all these orbital commands.
That's going to be a huge problem. Actually, I'm wondering how many Overseers there are. As we see in the picture-in-picture, a single Ghost also chipping away at this army there for Dark. But another one of these bases getting knocked out for Dark. Dark is going to need to retreat back home sooner or later. But the Lurkers taking out this planetary fortress in a matter of seconds. Lots of Overseers to support them as well. This is going to come down to who can use their army the best.
This is an insane situation. The snipes coming in, the Lurkers is a nice beginning engagement, but that's not going to be enough here for Maru, as Dark is barely able to clutch it out here in the end. And we are getting closer and closer to a comeback. 2-1 now for Dark. Is this the beginning, Fear Dragon?
I mean, Dark able to just leverage chaos so well. He is the king of chaos, it feels like. Maru was in weird positions in that game. There were certainly moments that it felt like Dark had the lead, but Maru was able to start climbing back. He was able to find little bits and pieces of damage, but eventually, I just love the decision-making from Dark multiple times during that game where he said, I don't want to fight your army directly. I'm just going to turn this into a quasi or full-on base trade. And every single time that happened, it felt like Dark was able to find little leads.
And for me, it all comes back to that one timing attack Dark went at for in the natural expansion to Maru, because he recognized the situation. Too much damage was being done on the top right. Expansions were getting canceled. And then he breaches this spot with the Vipers. This timing was so clutch. And Maru, even looking at the minimap, he's scattered all across the field. He's scrambling to try and defend. If Dark didn't make this play happen right here in game number 3, we might be looking at a Maru 3-0, but instead this one stole the momentum back for the Zerg, and Dark was able to ride it to a victory. And these are the kind of killer instincts that make a player championship caliber.
Yeah, if you want to go and teach a course and say, here's the slideshow of what it means to say the best offense or best defense is a good offense, this is it. This is literally just what you show them. You just show them a slideshow of that kind of attack from Dark, and that's it. That's the example. You understand that the best defense is a good offense.
Yeah, and the fact that he was later in the game able to catch Maru out of position here in this almost base trade race, he was just able to dish out so much more damage with the Hydras, with the Lings, and then Maru tries, he might have made the supplies don't exactly tell the story because the army supplies are still relatively even, but at the end of the day, Dark just a little bit too strong there in the end, and he is able to bring it back to 2-1.
That he does indeed. It really does feel like Maru, in all the small trades and all the little skirmishes, it's like Maru typically ends up winning out and all that stuff. But Dark just finds these big swings that are able to get him a lead or come back into the game and even things up every time.
And Maru actually looking a little bit concerned right there. I feel like game 3, he realized he had it almost in the bag. So many things were going his way from the early game into the mid game, and then in one fell swoop, Dark was able to get so much damage done. And whenever you feel as a pro gamer in the booth, or if you're playing an online cup, or any kind of tournament situation, whether you're a pro or a casual, if you feel the momentum start to get stolen away, it is a scary moment. And Maru, of course, he is not shy on the big stage. This guy has won as many championships as anybody else in the world. But still, you have to recognize how dangerous this situation could potentially be. Maru now, going into map number 4, he has to go back to the drawing board. He can't get caught off guard again by Dark.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I would love to see a statistic of how many times if a player starts up 2-0 in a best of 5 or starts up 3-0 in a best of 7, if you have the series tied up and it goes to an ace match, how often the player that has that momentum from those last couple of wins ends up just winning that ace match, because it is so dangerous when you lose the momentum.
Momentum is so real, and this is one of the things that we were even noticing in the GSL, especially in Season 1 and Season 2 so far of this year, is that it feels like in that kind of format, the guy that goes to the winner's match and then loses and goes into the final match, they almost always get knocked out because it's the other guy that is battling to survive. In this Bjorn-esque moment like from DreamHack in this weekend, there is so much momentum on his side. How do you stop it? If Dark is able to take another victory here or even just have a strong early game, that momentum can become something so real, and it is so hard to stop in this kind of semifinal match. And I think Dark knows it too. I think that's why he took this moment to collect himself, because yes, it is match point. Yes, Maru is only one map win away from ending your tournament run and booking his ticket to the grand finals. But Dark, you just need a little bit more of an edge, and you might be the one going to that grand final.
That's so true. State, I want to ask you now, Dark, not a player who is afraid to cheese. Is this the time that you busted out? We haven't really seen a ton of it. We saw the early pool in that last game, but we haven't seen a lot of super all-in cheese that Dark sometimes is not afraid to go for.
I'm not sure if we're going to see it here on game number 4, but if anyone in the world is going to do it, I feel like it's going to be Dark. This guy is so unpredictable. He is so aggressive. Let's get ready to get into it, guys. Game number 4 has loaded up. And this guy on screen right now has fought back in game number 3. Can he do the same in game number 4 and steal the momentum away from Maru? Give him your cheers. Let him hear it. It is Dark.
And up here at the top left-hand side of the map, the blue Terran player from Team Vitality. He needs one more win to go straight to the grand final. Send him that energy. He is Maru.
So much riding on this next map. Site Delta. Maru going to be going for the build that Björn pioneered recently, the 2 barracks on the low ground, which has become the standard here in TPZ. And I wonder how aggressive Maru is going to be with it, because so far in this series, it feels like his play hasn't been quite as explosive. It seems like he's mostly focused on the 2-2 timings, the later game or the mid game to go for those killing blows. But with this 2 racks opening, especially on a map like Site Delta, where it's hard for the queens to come down and defend something like the third base from sustaining a lot of damage, we could see Maru play with a little bit more aggression here in game number 4.
No, you're absolutely right. He's been a little bit more conservative with the Reapers. He's still finding impressive amounts of damage versus Dark, but he is very much focused, it seems like, when he did go for the 2 racks opening, on just trying to find bits and pieces of damage, as long as he's also able to keep those Reapers alive to leverage them for additional usage later, additional scouting, or even just continued a little bit of harassment with his army. But for now, we'll have to wait and see, as those first 2 Reapers are going to be popping on out and making their way across the map. Dark not going for any kind of early pools or anything this game. He's going to go back to the standard tried and true.
Yeah, 3rd Reaper gets started here from Maru. That's typically the magic number of Reapers here in the early game. I would be surprised if Maru went for a 4th one. I think he is definitely one of these 3 Reaper guys, but let's see what kind of damage can get done, as both these guys want to get the best possible start they possibly can. Nice grenade there, actually pulling that drone, but the Lings were so quick, they almost even got a surround right there in the natural. Man, Maru being very ambitious with his opening Reaper, and Dark queuing up 4 more Lings. I think he wants to try and catch one of these if he can.
Well, the high health Reaper is now there, but the Queen is going to make things a lot harder.
4th Reaper, by the way, in production. So Maru is going to try and potentially get some damage done on that 3rd. And Dark, by the way, of all the Zerg players in the world, I think is the sneakiest in terms of hiding drones. Maru knows it. Notice, he is not just checking the triangle 3rd. He's like, Dark, I know you, buddy. I know you have a drone somewhere. If it's not at that ramp, yeah, I guarantee you Maru is going to go down to the mineral line of the base next to it, because Dark, tried and true, he loves to go for that kind of play. And so Maru, with this Reaper opening, able to basically lock Dark onto bases until Zergling speed is done. But got to be careful. Look at those queens.
One of the Reapers going down there, that is not what Maru wants to see happen, as these 2 Reapers now going to have a much harder time actually preventing a lot of the queens from spreading creep, from actually even denying this 3rd base location, as the hatchery is going to be able to come down safely a little bit sooner than Dark otherwise maybe would have been denied it.
Yeah, I mean, Dark would have loved to throw down that hatchery earlier, so that, I mean, even if it sustains some damage from the Reapers, it's going to come online. It's not going to throw your build to the wind and cause chaos. And as it is instead, Maru going back to kind of the same flavor of build he did in game number 1. He's levying some pressure, this time with the Reapers. He's able to get a really fast 3rd base. Look at that production tab right now. His 3rd command center is done when Dark's 3rd hatchery is only halfway complete. And behind it, he has already started 1-1. And Dark now with this scout is going to know Maru is playing this really greedy build, and I don't know if he's going to be able to scout the double engineering bay in the main base with the Overlord. It's looking like it's pretty close. If he's able to spot this, he isn't.
Wow.
He's not going to know exactly how committed Maru is going to be, but because of natural expansion, it is quite small here on Site Delta. He might just kind of assume, not seeing more infrastructure in the main base, that Maru is doing this greedy opening.
Yeah, and Maru's definitely been showing that he's not afraid to play some of these greedier openings and stuff throughout this best of 5 series. So it's going to be on Dark's mind. Dark going to continue to run around with these Lings, but it looks like Maru, he's been able to deny a little bit of the creep strat, I think, but it does seem like Dark is finally getting a chance to spread out a bit further into the center of the map. And this has been also another reoccurring thing throughout this series, is Maru's been able to keep that creep spread so under control in this best of 5.
I feel like that's just been a theme here for Maru recently in 2024, is that his map presence it's not as if he's on the map more than he is typically, but he's somehow finding ways to get more done with the units that he's got.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You can see Dark really respecting it. How many queens is that on the front line trying to secure the creep spread? Maru's going to come in with these 4 Hellions and 2 Reapers and be like, wait, bro, you got 6 queens? You're protecting those 2 tumors? But this is kind of what you have to do here as Dark on site Delta, because this is one of the hardest maps in the pool, if not the hardest, to get your creep spread going on all of the potential attack pathways.
Yeah. Those queens really are just saying, like, you are legally not allowed to kill my creep tumors. You're in fact not allowed to. It is banned. It is outlawed in at least 37 countries. But for now, it does seem like that creep spread is getting going, at least a little bit. Getting down from the low or the high ground over at that third base is going to be a bit more of a task and a bit more annoying, especially now that the medevacs are out and those Marines are going to be joining the fray with 1-1 complete.
Yeah, this 1-1 timing could be pretty dangerous here for Dark. He actually doesn't have that much on the ground, and Hellbats have more. Bear Dragon, I don't know if Dark is ready to absorb the impact of this attack. He only has 20 lings. More are in production surely in this moment, but this base might potentially go down. Look at the arc that Maru is getting. Instead, he's actually going to pivot over to the queens. He knows he has a killer instinct. He takes down 1 queen. Another high energy queen falls. They're getting chased down. The link production is not there yet. This is so much momentum. Can Dark get this under control?
And the Hellbats continuing to just buffer on that front line, making it so difficult for any of these lings to make their way to the front. The Banelings pretty much all getting canceled. Another queen ends up falling there, and GG gets called. Maru is going to the grand finals.
And Dark, you can see him shaking his head. He thought his scouting was on point. He thought Maru was going to be playing about his